Please take your seat. Thank you all. Please take your seat. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
And welcome to the Maryland State House for our first bill signing ceremony of 2025. This has been a historic legislative session, and over the last 90 days, we've been able to get together and get to work, all the while as we've seen chaos unfold just south of us in Washington, D.C. But in Annapolis, we move differently. In Annapolis, we've answered this moment of crisis with courage. At a time when the White House has issued the largest tax hike on Americans in history through arbitrary tariff policies, we made sure that 94% of Marylanders will either get a tax cut or see no changes at all in their income tax. At a time when the federal government is trying to eliminate the Department of Education and gut funding for schools from Mountain Maryland to the Eastern Shore, including, by the way, schools that teach students with special needs, we've delivered the largest single investment in K-12 education in the history of our state. At a time when Elon Musk is laying off thousands of public servants through his DOGE project, including, by the way, people who are charged with keeping our community safe, we have preserved record funding for local law enforcement agencies and passed policies to uplift the dignity of service. Our administration laid out 3 core objectives in January. First, reform the tax code and make sure we're giving middle-class families tax relief. Second, grow our economy and diversify our economy off of Washington, D.C. And the third, invest in our people, invest in our workers. Meeting these goals required all of us to work together. And I want to thank our partners inside the work. I want to thank Speaker of the House, Adrienne Jones. Yeah, she deserves applause. I want to thank Senate President Bill Ferguson. I want to thank my amazing Lieutenant Governor, Aruna Miller. I want to thank our entire cabinet, our entire team. And also, I want to take a moment also to thank our outstanding legislative team and Jeremy Baker, the work that you've done to guide us in this process. But most importantly, I also want to take a moment just to thank all the Marylanders who traveled to Annapolis over these last 90 days to make your voices heard, because this session is yours too. And while it may be my signature that will enact these bills into law, it is your hands that held the pen the entire time. Over the course of the next few bill signings, you will hear from us about what we've accomplished together and how that works for all Marylanders. And the legislation that we will sign today is centered on strengthening Maryland's workforce. At a time when we're watching thousands of federal workers being laid off because of an ideology, at a time when the lives and livelihoods of many Marylanders are being put at risk in the name of so-called efficiency, at a time when the White House seems more interested in carving out space for billionaire tax cuts than helping regular people, Maryland is mobilizing in support of our workers and in support of our middle-class families. And last month, we announced 5 actions to ensure that we protected our federal workers who call the state of Maryland home. The first is we are building out our online resources. The second, we are connecting federal workers with opportunities in education. Third, we are moving in partnership with local and county leaders to meet people where they are. Fourth, we are recruiting federal workers into available state jobs. And fifth, we are updating processes in state government to make sure we are expediting hiring. if there is something available and there is a person who's qualified to do it, get them in the seat as quickly as possible. And today, I will sign legislation that marks a continuation of that work. HB 723 will help fast-track license approval for healthcare workers who have been licensed in other states and fired from their jobs in the federal government. Thank you, Robert. We are talking about highly qualified, highly skilled workers who have built careers saving lives. People who have committed their lives to serving the lives of others. And now they are being told by someone who was never willing to take the same oath that they took that their service doesn't matter. Well, in Maryland, we believe their service does matter. And this legislation will help ensure essential workers can continue their work to be able to make our state better. Thank you for this bill, and thank you for the leadership in making this happen. Thank you, Delegate Carr. Because in Maryland, we are going to continue to mobilize because we refuse to bend to anybody when it comes to protecting our people. Today, I will also sign the RAISE Act into law. This legislation will strengthen the apprenticeship pipeline in the state of Maryland. Because while we are proud of the fact that Maryland is some of the best four-year institutions of higher education in the entire country, we will end this myth that every single one of our students need to attend one in order to be economically successful. The RAISE Act creates a financial incentive for employers that work in industries of the future, like cyber, to adopt an apprenticeship model. Maryland already has a strong track record and is already a strong model for apprenticeships in the building trades. But with the RAISE Act, we are expanding this model to sectors that don't yet have a tradition of apprenticeships, like healthcare and life sciences. And with the bill signing today, we will make it possible for more Marylanders to see their future in these critical industries. We're also standing up a new Maryland Office of Registered Apprenticeship Development through this legislation, and it will help all kinds of employers and help them to navigate the startup phase of the apprenticeship platform and apprenticeship programs, including Maryland Strong Small Businesses. And finally, I will sign the Maryland Employer Act. This bill extends a hand to a community that has been left behind for far too long when it comes to employment. Marylanders with disabilities. 1 in 2 Marylanders with disabilities face financial hardships. 1 in 2. Marylanders with disabilities make up just 5% of the workforce. If we want to unleash Maryland's potential, we need pathways to work, wages, and wealth for all Marylanders, and not just some. And that's what the Model Employer Act does. Our bill orders the Department of Disabilities to implement new policies that support employment and job training for Marylanders with disabilities, and under the extraordinary leadership of Secretary Carol Beatty. Good to be with you, Madam Secretary. This department will create a new Office of Disability Employment Advancement and Policy, and it's amongst the first of its kind in the nation. This new office will be a laboratory for innovative policies designed to connect more Marylanders with disabilities with good-paying jobs. And the reason we are fighting so hard on this issue is because we know who this is going to help. It's going to help people like Bong Del Rosario. So in 2019, Bong was working at a nonprofit serving his community. But he knew that he needed to find ways to do more and was uncertain about his next chapter. He was recruited by the Department of Disabilities to serve the state as part of the agency's Transportation Policy Program. And when he was first approached with the job opening, Bong didn't realize anyone who looked like him could actually serve in state government. But his lived experience ended up being one of his greatest assets and his greatest gifts. Bong uses a wheelchair and depends on public transportation and paratransit wherever he goes. His deep personal experience with our transportation systems helped to make him more informed, and it helps to make him the perfect voice to make sure that we are serving all Marylanders. And today, he serves as Director of Transportation Policy and Programs at the Department of Disabilities. Earlier this year, Bong came to Annapolis and he testified on the Model Employer Act because he knows how critical this bill is to our collective success, and we would not be here today at a bill signing had it not been for you, Bong. And so I want to take this moment to present to you the first ceremonial pen of the legislative session, and to say thank you for all your work. I am now honored to be able to turn the microphone over to my partner in the work, our Lieutenant Governor, Aruna Miller.
Thank you, Governor. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Well, I got to tell you, this morning, the governor and I started off by walking up to the State Dome, all the way up to the top. If you haven't done that, try doing it. It's not that easy. I'm still recovering from it. So I just want to say what an honor it is to be with all of you. And Governor, thank you so much. Good morning to all of you again. Look, while Sine Die may be behind us, the work of making real progress continues, not just in policy, but in people's lives. Today, with the signing of the RAISE Act and Maryland as a model employer, we're building a stronger economy and a workforce that reflects the full talent and diversity of Maryland. I want to thank Governor Moore for his unwavering commitment to growing our economy and investing in our people through equity, through opportunity, and with a vision that leaves no one behind. Thank you to Speaker Adrian Jones, Senate President Bill Ferguson, and members of the General Assembly for your partnership and your leadership. And a great big shout out to the members of the Moore-Miller administration who championed the bills and brought them to life, including Secretary Portia Wu, Secretary Carol Beatty and their teams, and our Chief Legislative Officer, Jeremy Baker, and his team. These bills didn't come from theory or textbooks. They were born in town halls, kitchen tables, classrooms, and shaped by people who understand that when you expand opportunity, you expand what's possible, not just for one person, but for all of us. So to the advocates and community members, my sincere gratitude to you for sharing your lived experiences. Your stories matter. They always have, and they always will. And because of you, the RAISE Act is now poised to strengthen Maryland's apprenticeship programs, opening more doors for workers in both traditional trades and high-growth industries like IT and cybersecurity. It helps Marylanders earn while they learn, and with a paycheck from day one and a direct route into a stable, high-earning careers without the burden of crushing student debt. It's about building a future that they have the power to shape, not just for themselves, but for their families for generations to come. The second bill, the Model Employer Act, recognizes a hard truth. that only 45% of Marylanders with disabilities are employed, compared to 79% of those without disabilities. That's not a gap. That's a missed opportunity. This bill breaks down barriers that have kept too many talented individuals on the sidelines by improving employment opportunities and outcomes for people with disabilities. Look, disability exists not because of a person's abilities, but because our broader environment is not accessible, inclusive, and are designed with purpose and intentionality. These two bills are part of a broader strategy under the Moore-Miller administration to leave no one behind, and reflect our belief that a stronger economy begins with a workforce that includes every one of us. But it's not just these two bills that move our state forward. It's the numerous other bills that the governor will be signing into law today. Look, to every one of us, we know this session has been tough. It's been shaped by a tough budget, challenging realities, and hard decisions. But it's also grounded in a shared commitment to expand opportunity and invest in our people. So again, to everyone who helped bring all of these bills across the finish line, thank you. Let's keep raising the bar. Let's keep modeling what equity and inclusion should be. Let's keep building a state where we leave no one behind. Thank you, and it's my great pleasure now to introduce Senate President Bill Ferguson.
Good morning. Thank you all for being here today. It seems a little bit brighter and earlier than it does in normal years. Look, as we conclude the 2025 legislative session, I just want to briefly reflect on some of the significant challenges we faced, and most importantly, some of the substantial progress that we were able to make together. I will say, in my 15 years in the legislature, and this being my 6th year as the presiding officer of the Senate, this was one of, if not the hardest sessions that we have faced. The level of uncertainty and instability that we saw from the federal level and where we are moving in the weeks and months ahead was a cloud over top of every single decision that we were forced to make. I'm incredibly grateful to the governor, the lieutenant governor, the speaker, the members of the General Assembly, and most importantly, the members of the Senate, some of whom are joined here today, who helped us navigate truly some of the most challenging scenarios and issues that we've had in my 15 years serving in the legislature. At the end of the day, we really, truly came together to solve our most critical issues. At the outset, we confronted a $3.3 billion budget deficit that was compounded by, as I said, the uncertainty stemming from the massive potential federal cuts that still unfortunately are looming. But through bipartisan and bicameral efforts, we crafted a balanced approach that involved difficult but necessary decisions. We implemented over $2 billion in spending cuts and introduced targeted revenue measures, which included adjustments to the income tax brackets for high earners and new taxes on capital gains to have a more progressive and fair approach towards taxation in Maryland. These actions were necessary and essential to stabilize our state's finances while safeguarding the critical services that many vulnerable Marylanders absolutely rely on. Today, I just want to highlight a couple bills of which you've heard already, but I think deserve extra mention. The first is Senate Bill 431, which is the Registered Apprenticeship Investments for a Stronger Economy, or as the governor said, the RAISE Act. This administration bill establishes the Maryland Office of Registered Apprenticeship Development within the Maryland Apprenticeship and Training Program. It is a critical component of the Department of Labor, and I see the Secretary here today, as well as our partners in organized labor, who were absolutely essential voices in trying to craft a program that made the most sense. This bill, at the end of the day, reflects the work that we were able to all do together with the 2030 Commission and is a critical step to developing the next generation of our robust workforce to invest in middle-class Marylanders. Next, I want to highlight Senate Bill 36, which is a bill that I see Senator Kagan, who is here today, worked on intimately. It is the 911 Trust Fund and the 988 Suicide Prevention Hotline. which allows for investments in the most critical services for those who are most vulnerable. The bottom line is that even in the face of uncertainty, we will continue to invest in public safety and make sure that all Marylanders have access to stability. Lastly, I just want to point out that we were able to work very closely with our partners in the House and with the Speaker to form the Joint Federal Action Oversight Committee. This will be an interim joint committee launched by the Speaker and I with 13 members of each chamber. This bipartisan, bicameral effort will strengthen our state's ability to respond and engage with actions taken at the federal level and work very closely with the administration to figure out how to navigate the world ahead. This new committee is about one thing. It's ensuring that Marylanders are not caught off guard in this interim. Since January 20th, decisions made by this federal administration on health care, transportation, education, the environment, and immigration have direct, immediate consequences for Maryland families. But by the time we fully understand those impacts, the challenge we have is that we can't wait until next January to take them on. That will no longer be acceptable. The new Joint Committee will give a dedicated body to track federal policy in real time, evaluate how it is affecting our state, and coordinate swift, strategic responses with our governor and our executive agencies. It ensures that when federal changes are coming, Maryland is at the table and absolutely will not be the last to know. We're taking proactive steps to ensure that our state's interests are not just represented, but protected together. We're creating the capacity for legislative leaders to ask the right questions early, to gather insights from stakeholders across the board, and to speak with a unified voice in defense of our Maryland communities. This is not about partisanship, and I want to be very clear. This is about responsibility to Marylanders. It's about readiness. Marylanders deserve a government that sees what's coming and is prepared to act, and prepared to act in a unified way. The federal government, we all know, is a powerful force in our lives. But with this committee and the continued work with our executive administration, what we are saying is that Maryland is ready and we will not lose ground. I look forward to working with each of you here today, with the governor, with the speaker, to make sure that moving forward we have the most effective tools to make sure that all Marylanders have the opportunity to maximize their fullest potential. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to my partner in this work and someone who's had a more challenging session than any of us, but managed to lead through the hardest of times, Speaker Adrian Jones.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
As the shortest of the four of us, I will be brief. It's great to be here with Governor Moore and President Ferguson and Lieutenant Governor Miller for our first bill signing of 2025. The session was one of the most challenging I've experienced in my time in the House, and I've been here since 1997. When session began, we knew our constituents would be facing a great deal of chaos and uncertainty this year. So 90 days ago, we made a promise to protect Marylanders. Not only did we make that promise then, but we worked to uphold that promise every single day for the past 90 days. And we showed Marylanders that responsible governance can still make a difference. In the face of catastrophic cuts from the Trump administration, we passed a budget that solves our immediate fiscal challenges and creates a safety net that we can withstand the fallout from Trump's economic malpractice. Together, we fought to protect our federal workers and contractors, to protect affordable health care and abortion access, and to protect working families and their futures. Finally, today we are signing a series of bills to protect and fortify our state government. Because at the end of the day, our state legislature is one of the last lines of defense against the irresponsible and reckless actions taken by the federal government. I'm proud of what we've done this session. I'm proud that we found ways to work together on these issues, and I look forward to putting my signature on these bills. And with that, let's get these bills signed.
House Bill 502, Office of Disability Employment Advancement Policy in Maryland as a Model Employer Initiative established.
Two rows, make sure we all the folks in the back. Go ahead, hold it in tight. Hold it a little.
House Bill 502, this one's for you. Thank you very much.
Senate Bill 431, Registered Apprenticeship Investments for a Stronger Economy, the RAISE Act.
You good, Jeff?
Can come back just a smidge. Can you guys come back just a little bit?
so you're not in the picture yet?
Come back just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Thank you. Perfect. Senate Bill 431, you got it done. Perfect, thank you.